What's up everyone, welcome back. Patrick here, and moving on to the next video. Got a couple of more rational expressions that we're adding, subtracting, that we're going to have to simplify. So starting with number one, we got 7 over x plus 2 minus 4 over x squared minus 4. So as I did in the previous video, same exact steps. I'm going to first factor anything I can. So notice here, nothing can factor. But notice that this x squared minus 4, that's a difference of squares. That factors into x plus 2 and then x minus 2. And then at this point, what you want to do is find the restrictions before you start simplifying. So notice that x plus 2 cannot equal 0, which means x cannot equal negative 2. And then right here, we got x minus 2 cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal positive 2. Those are the two restrictions for this question in particular. Now what we can do is simplify this. So I'm going to take these two fractions, combine them into one. Now what's the lowest common denominator? Notice it's going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. Right? So really all we have to do is multiply this by x minus 2, multiply the top by x minus 2. So if we rewrite this, we'll have 7 bracket x minus 2 minus 4 all over x plus 2 times x minus 2. And then what you want to do is you want to simplify the numerator. So if I distribute the 7, I'll have 7x, then I'll have negative 14 minus 4, which is negative 18, like that. And then I'll have x plus 2, x minus 2 at the bottom. Now you always want to check, can you factor that simplified expression here, because sometimes factors will cancel out. And notice that the numerator can't factor. We can't take out a 7 because 7 doesn't go into 18 smoothly. There's no number that goes into 7 and 18. So that there is your final answer for number 1. So I'm going to write that up here. So that's the final answer, and then those are the restrictions right there. Now moving on to number 2, we got 6 over x minus 1 plus 4. Now this plus 4 here, we can actually rewrite this as 4 over 1, like that. Now notice at this point there's nothing we could factor, and we're only going to have one restriction from this x minus 1. So let me actually split this up. X minus 1 cannot equal 0, which means x cannot equal 1. That's the one restriction for this question number 2. And now we can simplify this. So to get a common denominator, the lowest common denominator between x minus 1 and 1 is just going to be x minus 1. So we got to multiply this top by x minus 1. So we would end up with 6 plus 4 bracket x minus 1 all over x minus 1. And then from here, if we distribute, so we'll have 4x, then we'll have minus 4 plus 6, which gives us plus 2, and then we'll have x minus 1 at the bottom. Now let's see if we could factor further. So notice we could take out a 2 from the top, but notice that there's nothing that's going to cancel out further. So either of these two is the simplified version. I think this one looks nicer. Right, so that's the final answer. That's the restriction right there. And then number 3, we got x over y plus y over x minus x plus y. So same steps apply here. Notice there's no numbers in this case. It's all variables, but the same steps are applying. So first we make sure we factor everything. Notice that there's nothing here that can factor. Then we get the restrictions. Now this x and this y, this is like x over 1, and then this is like y over 1. Right, so from here we want to get the restrictions. Notice that y can't be 0. That's one of the restrictions. And then x cannot equal 0. And then from here what we want to do is combine these into one fraction. That's how we're going to simplify. So we need a lowest common denominator. So what's the lowest common denominator between y, x, 1, and 1? Well, notice it's just going to be x, y, right? So what do we have to multiply this y by to get to xy? We would have to multiply by x, which means the top we have to multiply by x. This x we have to multiply by y, means the top we have to multiply by y. And then both of these ones here we have to multiplied by xy. So we multiply this by xy, then multiply this by xy, multiply this by xy. So when we add everything up, we would end up with x squared plus y squared. Over here, we'd have minus x squared y. And then over here, we would end up with x y squared. And then you want to see, can you factor anything out? And in this case, you can't factor an x or y out from all the terms, because this one only has x, this one only has y. And so this here is the actual answer. So that's the simplified answer, and then those are the restrictions.